Divorce turns your world upside down, and obviously the marriage is ending, and this is something that you trusted in and something that you had so many dreams for, and this day felt like never was it going to happen to you. And you're wildly exhausted, and that makes so much sense, right? Everything, like I said, has been turned upside down. And here's the thing that people aren't talking about, that people don't tell you. The most powerful tool that you have at your disposal isn't the top lawyer, it isn't the mediator or your therapist, it's not your parent or your best friend. The most powerful tool you have is actually within you. As cheesy as that sounds, as highly sensitive, deeply feeling woman, this is the tool that is going to pave the way forward into a life that is calm and confident. I am Sue Bruckner. I'm a holistic relationship coach, and I guide sensitive women through divorce using a growth mindset so that they can turn the chaos into calm, confidence, and clarity. In today's, I want to get across that without clarity on this most powerful tool, life is chaotic. And this is going to help you understand why maybe your life looks so different than you thought it would. The next thing I want to talk about is this most powerful tool and why it is your internal compass. And then the third thing, I want to take you through a journey on how this tool can become the catalyst for amazing transformation and amazing growth. So to go ahead, I want to share a story. When I was, oh gosh, this was about 10 years ago, and I was wildly unhappy in my marriage. I was with someone who I didn't feel emotionally safe with, who I really just ended up feeling lonely time and again. And I happened to be working a 40-plus hour job that was totally out of alignment with my wiring as a sensitive soul. And I was depressed, and I could tell that I was getting more and more depressed because I had been through these journeys of depression before and always worked through this. And so to be going down again was a really big red flag for me. And as the way things work in this universe, I happened to come across a course through Brene Brown. In this course, she had us identify our top 2 values, which is what I'm going to be asking you to do. And I'm actually going to be providing you a free resource on how to walk through this process yourself so that you can have the amazing transformation and growth that I also had experienced and continue to experience. But anyway, so I do this through this course, and it's like the hugest light bulb went off, and I realized that it wasn't enough for me just to know what was important to myself. Obviously, I knew my family was important. I knew a sense of purpose was important, the environment. I could list so many things, but I really didn't know how those were showing up in my life. And more importantly, I didn't know how they weren't showing up in my life, my core values, my essence, right? And so as I discovered what my top 2 were, I realized, wow, this is why my life feels so chaotic. This is why my marriage doesn't feel like something I want to be in. For one, in the marriage, our values, while maybe they were aligned when we first got together, they no longer were, and they weren't going to come back together, meaning they weren't going to harmonize. We were at odds with each other in such a fundamental way. And actually, this was the beginning of the end, truly. And I don't mean that in a dramatic way. It gave me permission to leave, to really truly understand that I wasn't being over emotional, but rather I was trying so hard to align with a way of living that felt like home. And my marriage didn't. Neither did working 40-plus hours a week. So I share this just to get across to you that knowing your values is absolutely everything. And it is not enough just to say, oh yeah, I know what's important to me. So what are values? I mean, you have an understanding, I'm sure, without me giving you a definition, but values are, like, if you think of it like your fingerprints, I find this super helpful because, and this actually came from Brene Brown, I can't claim it as my own, but it's the acknowledgement that how our values show up for us is going to be unique. It's going to look like something different than the neighbor who has, the same value. So it's your essence. It's what makes you you. And in many ways, in my journey of discovering my values, I would look for those moments where I felt at home in my body, where I felt like, this feels like me. And that became everything to me, to feel like me and to know that that was in alignment with living within my values. Everything. So I want you to think of values like your internal compass. They are going to lead you the way. And I want to tell you something. When I was going through my divorce, a friend sent me a meme and it said, "You made me so proud," I said to myself. And this became my lifeline. I read that and I just had this like internal reaction of yes. For me to be proud of myself at the end of the day was absolutely everything. And I know I say that a lot, but it was absolutely everything. And I knew for me to be proud of me, I needed to be within my integrity at all times to the best of my ability, right? When my ex went low, and he often went low during the divorce process, would say that I knew he was going to be angry. I knew he was going to be mean when I left the marriage, but I had no idea he was going to be cruel and vindictive. And so time and time again, I was hit with different things he threw my way. It felt like fires being lit everywhere and I was constantly putting them out. And so I had these choices. Did I want to go low? Did I want to retaliate? Did I want to also be vindictive? But this meme reminded me that no, I wanted to be proud of myself because I was staying in alignment with my values, right? So I share this. I made myself proud, I said to myself, because that became my absolute anchoring into my core values. Every day you have so many times where you can choose how you want to respond. And if you pivot into your values, because my first reaction isn't always one of integrity. I have to say that. My first gut instinct sometimes is like, I want to retaliate. But when I pivot into what feels in alignment with me, it's going to be my values. Okay, so moving on. I want to paint a picture even more of how your values work. And again, remember there's a core inventory down below. And if you aren't able to come up with your top 2 values, connect with me, please, because this is the most important work I do with all of my clients. It is the foundation. Okay, so this journey of stepping into my values, it looked like a lot of different things, but what I really want to get across is that as I was learning what was the most important to me, those 2 core values, I was learning it on an incredibly intimate level. I was paying really deep attention to how these values felt in my body. So I would find myself get really tight and really rigid, and I would realize, oh, wait, rigid, tight, this is out of alignment with my values. And I would take a deep breath and pivot back into my values. And of course, it wasn't always super easy. I have different tools that I needed to use sometimes. But what I'm trying to get across is just that awareness of that mind-body connection is going to be one of your lifelines. So again, I started to pay such deep attention to how my values showed up physically. And really, almost more importantly, is how I felt when I was out of alignment with my values, right? It's easier for us to recognize tension and tightness sometimes than it is relaxation. And for me, relaxation means I'm in alignment with my values, which means I'm in alignment with authenticity. And tightness means that I'm triggered. I'm in some type of conditioning and I'm out of alignment with my values. So I also paid attention to, it's like how your values show up in action. What was I saying? What was I doing? What was I thinking when I was in alignment with my values? And the opposite. What was I doing, thinking, saying when I found myself out of alignment? And it's a journey. I think of it kind of like a case study. I was doing a case study with myself, and I encourage you to do that because along the way, I want to tell you 3 amazing things that happened, and more things happened, but for the sake of the length of this video, we'll just stay with 3. So, one thing I realized was that decisions became easier to make. And now, as highly sensitive women, deeply feeling, intuitive, empathic women, we're overthinkers. And to have decisions become easier is a remarkable gift. And so it was something that I noted. I was like, oh, okay, this feels good. This is the right decision. And I'm not going to say that it was like magic and it made everything during the divorce process easier. The divorce process is hard, right? It just is. But I felt my decisions were purposeful. It was the same when I knew that I needed to leave the marriage. I knew I was doing it from a place of purpose because the values had gotten so out of alignment and a number of other reasons, right? But again, it's when you're making decisions that come from this place of alignment, even if they're hard, even if they disappoint others, even if they're not what the advice givers are saying, if they are in alignment with your values, then they are the correct decisions. So another thing that became easier, boundaries, right? Boundaries are hard for highly sensitives. They're hard for everybody, but we are so in tune with other people's emotions and how they receive us that setting a boundary can be really challenging, right? But the more I practiced being in alignment with my values, the more boundaries became a natural thing. And I was proud each time I set one, if it was a healthy and aligned boundary. Also, and this might be the thing that was the most amazing, through all of this, I was developing a more rooted and divine sense of trust in myself. And, when we're going through divorce, a lot of us lose trust, obviously in the other person, but in ourselves, for knowing how to make decisions that are the best for us. And when you go through your values work, when you really truly know what's most important to you to such an intimate level that you can feel it in your body, then you develop this all-knowing, right? You know yourself more. And with that, you love yourself more. And with that, you trust yourself more. I'm going to share with you the visualization that came to me during this process. And my connection with nature is really a source of solace and strength. I started to think of my values as, well, this is going to sound silly, but as my legs. So hear me out. Anytime that I would feel nervous, anxious, stressed out, my confidence wavering on a decision I needed to make, or just I needed a boost, I needed some rooting in, what I would do is stand firmly on the ground. And I would visualize each leg representing a value. And together, my legs made a trunk, a wildly beautiful trunk of a wildly beautiful tree. And the trunk would push into the earth, and I would actually push my feet down into the ground and picture roots going out on all sides. And these roots, which came from my values, were what kept me from toppling over. So even when the storm, and my divorce was a shitstorm, even when that storm was happening, I was so rooted into me, into what was important to me, that I didn't fall. Granted, I swayed, right? But I didn't fall. And that is what I want for you. I want for you to have this immensely strong foundation, and it develops more and more over time. But this foundation, these roots that carry you through what is one of the most transformative times, right? Divorce is a catalyst for wild growth and transformation. And the way to make that so authentically you, that transformation, is to be rooted into your values. So, all of that to say, I want for you to understand that knowing what's important to you isn't enough. You really need to take it further. That values become your internal compass, and they are what's going to make you proud of yourself at the end of the day. And values also are the way to a growth mindset, divorce, and life, right? They are what are going to be your key, your invitation, your growth and transformation. So, again, I am Sue Bruckner. I'm a holistic relationship coach. I am committed to supporting the sensitive woman as she navigates divorce and to creating community around this support. So, follow me. There's so much more to come. And again, look below. The core inventory is down there. There's also going to be the visualization of your tree trunk. Thank you so much, and bless you. I don't know why I said bless you, but it just came to me. Take care. Bye-bye.